If you're tired of promising yourself this time will be different, you're not alone. The worst feeling isn't failing. It's watching yourself know exactly what to do and still not doing it. It's waking up with hope and going to sleep with that quiet disappointment you don't even want to talk about. But listen closely. You are not broken. You are trained. And training can be changed. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they keep making agreements with their future self that their current self refuses to honor. That's why motivation doesn't last. Motivation is a mood, and moods don't build new lives. 21 days isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming someone you can trust again. Someone whose word means something. Someone who can look in the mirror and feel respect instead of negotiation. Here's the shift that changes everything. Stop trying to change your whole life. Choose one habit that, if you kept it for 21 days, would prove you're serious. 1. Then make it so small you can't excuse it on hard days. That's your minimum standard, because consistency beats intensity every time. And when your mind says, "not today," you don't argue, you don't wait to feel ready. You start the smallest version, 2 minutes, just to prove you still show up. Once you start, momentum carries you. And if life hits you and you miss a day, you don't spiral. You follow one rule: never miss twice. A slip is an event, not a verdict. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a 21-day reset that doesn't depend on motivation, doesn't require a new personality, and doesn't collapse the first time life gets hard. If you want to feel proud of yourself again, don't scroll. Stay here. And if you know someone who needs that same reminder like this, subscribe and share it with them right now, because the next 21 days are going to pass either way. Chapter 1. The decision that starts the clock. You are not here to get inspired. You are here to change. Inspiration is a spark, but change is a furnace. Sparks are easy. Furnaces are built. And the first brick is a decision that doesn't negotiate with your moods. 21 days can feel like nothing and everything at the same time. Nothing because you've spent years in patterns that seem welded to your bones. Everything because 3 weeks is long enough to prove to yourself that you are not who you've been acting like. The point of these 21 days is not to become perfect. The point is to become consistent. Consistency is the only proof your mind respects. Let me tell you about a man named Arjun who lived on the edge of a crowded city. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't stupid. He was tired of starting strong and fading. Tired of promises that sounded brave at night and felt ridiculous in the morning. One Monday, he found an old photo of himself from 5 years earlier. In it, his eyes looked awake. Not happier, awake. He stared at it like it belonged to someone he used to know. That night, he didn't write goals. He didn't make a dramatic plan. He did one thing: he stopped lying to himself about what his life was costing him. That's where change begins. Not with a new routine, but with truth. Truth is sharp. It cuts through excuses. It points at the real problem. Your problem is not time, it's not luck, it's not even discipline yet. Your problem is that you keep making agreements with your future self that your current self refuses to honor. So today, you're going to set a different kind of agreement, not a wish, not a hope, an agreement with consequences. Here, that's what Arjun did, and you can do it too. He chose one change to focus on for 21 days, not 10, not 5. 1. He didn't pick the hardest thing. He picked the most foundational. He chose to wake up at the same time every day because he realized his mornings were where his life either began or collapsed. He knew if he could win the first hour, the rest of the day would stop feeling like a rescue mission. The most powerful thing you can do in the next 21 days is choose one keystone habit. A keystone habit is the habit that makes other habits easier without you forcing them. When you sleep and wake at consistent times, you think clearer. When you walk daily, you crave better food. When you write for 10 minutes, you become more intentional with your time. Keystone habits create a chain reaction. You don't need 100 changes. You need one that pulls the rest behind it. But here's the problem. Most people choose habits like they choose New Year's resolutions. They choose what sounds impressive instead of what is sustainable. They announce it, imagine the applause, and then they face the quiet reality of Tuesday morning. Real change does not require an audience. It requires a standard. Imagine your life is a ship, and your habits are the rudder. You can have a powerful engine, a brilliant map, and a crew cheering you on. But if the rudder keeps drifting, you will end up in the same waters, no matter how much effort you spend. 21 days is you grabbing the rudder and holding it steady long enough for the direction to become real. Arjun started on a Tuesday, not a Monday, because he was done waiting for perfect timing. The first morning, the alarm rang and his mind immediately offered a deal. "You're tired. Start tomorrow." He sat up anyway, not because he felt heroic, but because he finally understood something. Every time he hit snooze, he didn't just lose 10 minutes. He practiced surrender. He trained his brain to believe that comfort outranks commitment. He walked to the kitchen and drank a glass of water. That was his first win, not dramatic but deliberate. Then he stood by the window, looked at the street lights fading, and he spoke one sentence out loud, quietly, like a vow. "I do what I said I would do." He didn't say, "I'll try." He didn't say, "I hope." He made it an identity statement. Your identity drives your behavior more than your goals ever will. This is where your 21 days truly start. Your focus isn't just completing tasks. Your focus is becoming the kind of person who completes tasks, becoming the kind of person who keeps promises, becoming the kind of person whose word means something, even when no one is watching. If you want a simple way to make this real, you need a daily ritual that locks your decision into place. When you wake up, before the day steals your attention, you take 3 minutes. 1 minute to breathe and get present. 1 minute to remind yourself of the one habit you're building. 1 minute to visualize yourself doing it even when you don't feel like it. You are not daydreaming. You are training your nervous system to stop treating effort like danger. Then you do the habit early. Don't place your new habit at the end of your day like a fragile object you hope will survive the chaos. Put it near the beginning where you still have strength. If your habit is movement, do it before your phone. If your habit is learning, do it before the noise. If your habit is planning, do it before the day starts improvising for you. Halfway through that first week, Arjun had a rough day. Work ran late, his phone buzzed nonstop, and his head felt heavy. He got home and told himself, "I've done well, I deserve a break." That sentence is a trap disguised as self-care. He was about to fall into the old pattern of rewarding effort by abandoning progress. Then he remembered the photo, awake eyes. He remembered what it felt like to want his own life back. So he did a smaller version of his habit instead of skipping it. He set his alarm anyway. He prepared his clothes. He cleaned up his space. He reduced friction. He made tomorrow easier. That's a rule you will live by in these 21 days. Never miss twice. You might miss once. Life happens. Energy dips. You travel. You get sick. But missing twice is how a slip becomes a slide. Missing twice teaches your brain the habit is optional. So if you miss once, you respond with a recovery plan, not guilt. Guilt is useless. Recovery is power. If this audiobook is bringing you value so far, take a moment to like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this, leave a comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to Prime Audiobooks for more content like this. Now, let's continue. Now I want you to understand what's really happening under the surface. The first days are not about results. They are about resistance. Your mind will test you because it wants to conserve energy. It will tell you that this is too hard, too boring, too slow, too late. It will bring up memories of past failures like evidence in a courtroom. You will feel the urge to renegotiate. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. That's a sign you've finally touched the edge of change. When you feel resistance, don't argue with it. Don't dramatize it. Name it and move. Say, this is resistance, like you're identifying weather. You don't debate the rain. You put on a jacket and keep walking. Resistance is just your old self trying to keep its job. Here's a real-world example. Think of someone who trains for a marathon. They don't wake up every day craving long runs. They follow a plan. They train in the rain. They train when their legs feel heavy. They train when the excitement is gone. And one day they realize their body has changed. Not because of one heroic run, but because of repeated ordinary runs. Your 21 days work the same way. You are building a body of evidence that you can trust yourself. So today, you choose your one habit, you define it clearly. Not get healthier, but walk for 20 minutes. Not be more productive, but write for 15 minutes. Not fix my life, but wake up at 6:30. And you make it measurable so your brain can't twist it into a vague promise. Then you remove one obstacle. Make it easier than your excuses. If your habit is reading, put the book on your pillow. If it's training, lay out your shoes. If it's hydration, fill the bottle the night before. This isn't weakness. This is strategy. Discipline isn't about making life harder. It's about making the right choice simpler than the wrong one. Finally, you track it, not for vanity, for honesty. A simple mark each day you complete it. Your mark is proof. Proof becomes pride. Pride becomes momentum. Momentum becomes identity. Arjun kept his mark on a small piece of paper taped inside a cabinet door. No one saw it. That was the point. Each morning he added another mark. Some days he felt strong. Some days he felt nothing, but the marks grew. By day 10, something shifted. He stopped asking, "Will I do it?" and started saying, "Of course I do it." That is what you're after, not motivation, automaticity, the calm certainty of a person who follows through. As you step into day 1, hear this clearly. You do not need to be a different person to start. You start and you become different. You don't wait until you feel ready. You act and readiness follows. So take a breath and feel the weight of this moment. 21 days from now, you will either have a stronger self or the same familiar disappointment. That outcome will not be decided by dramatic overhauls. It will be decided by the small moment when you're tempted to delay and you choose to move instead. What is the one habit that, if you built it for 21 days, would change the way you see yourself? What excuse do you return to like a home you no longer want to live in? What would it feel like to trust your own word again, to look at yourself in the mirror and know you are becoming someone disciplined, someone reliable, someone awake? Chapter 2. Build the arena. You've already made the decision, and you've already chosen the one habit that matters most right now. You've set your standard, you've started collecting proof, and you've learned the difference between a slip and a slide. Now the question becomes simpler and sharper. Will you keep depending on willpower, or will you build a system that makes follow through the default? Most people think discipline is a personality trait. It's not. Discipline is an environment you design and a script you rehearse. Willpower is a battery and it drains. Systems are power lines and they keep running. If you're serious about changing everything in 21 days, you stop treating your habit like a fragile promise and start treating it like a scheduled appointment in a room you control. Arjun learned this the hard way on day 4. He woke up on time, but his phone was on the bed beside him. He told himself he would just check one message. 1 became 10. 10 became news. News became scrolling. Suddenly the morning was gone, and the habit he promised himself felt cramped and rushed. He did it but barely, and he noticed something. The habit wasn't the only thing he was building. He was also building a relationship with his attention, and that relationship was still weak. That's what you fix now. You don't fight temptation head-on like it's a boxing match you need to win every day. You remove the opponent from the ring. You build the arena so the right actions have a clear path and the wrong actions have friction. Think about a river. Water doesn't force itself to flow. It follows the channel that's available. Your life works the same way. Your habits flow through the channels of convenience, visibility, and ease. If your phone is the first thing you see, your attention flows there. If your shoes are hidden in a closet and your workout plan is vague, your body flows back to the couch. If your calendar is empty and your priorities are fuzzy, your day flows into other people's demands. So you build channels. You create cues that pull you toward the habit without debate. This is not motivation. This is engineering. Start with one rule that changes your mornings immediately. The first 10 minutes belong to you, not the world. No messages, no social feeds, no news, no email. The world can wait 10 minutes. If you can't protect 10 minutes, you can't protect your life. Arjun moved his phone across the room at night. Not because phones are evil, but because his future mattered more than his convenience. He wanted waking up to feel like opening a door, not falling into a trap. Next, you create a visible starting line. Your habit should be easier to start than to avoid. If your habit is walking, your shoes should be placed where your eyes land when you stand up. If it's writing, your notebook should be open on the table with a pen ready. If it's waking at a consistent time, your alarm should be set and your evening should be shaped around it. People fail habits before the habit even begins because they start their day with friction and expect willpower to do the heavy lifting. You also need to understand the hidden power of what comes right before your habit. Habits don't live in isolation. They attach to a trigger. If you attach your habit to chaos, you get inconsistent results. If you attach it to a stable trigger, the habit becomes automatic. Pick a trigger you can repeat every day. After you drink water, you do your habit. After you brush your teeth, you do your habit. After you put on your shoes, you do your habit. The trigger is the latch. The habit is the door. Now make the habit smaller than your pride wants it to be. This isn't about reducing ambition. It's about protecting consistency. A small habit done daily beats a massive habit done occasionally. Arjun thought about adding a full morning workout, cold showers, reading, journaling, and meditation all at once. That's how people burn out. He remembered the standard, one keystone habit. So he kept the main commitment intact and built supporting structure around it without piling on new demands. Here is a simple method that will harden your habit into something that survives bad days. It's called the 2-minute door. Whatever your habit is, define the smallest version that takes 2 minutes and counts as showing up. If your habit is walking, 2 minutes means putting on your shoes and stepping outside. If your habit is writing, 2 minutes means writing one paragraph. If your habit is waking at a set time, 2 minutes means sitting up, putting your feet on the floor and drinking water. On the worst days, you do the 2-minute door. Most days, once you start, you keep going. But even if you don't, you have still protected the identity. I show up. Because identity is the real prize. The habit is the evidence. The evidence becomes the belief. The belief becomes the person. There's a story about a sculptor who was asked how he made a masterpiece from a block of stone. He said he didn't create anything. He just removed what didn't belong. That's what you're doing now. You're removing what doesn't belong in the life you're building. Not through dramatic declarations, but through quiet edits. Make one edit today. Remove one common excuse before it shows up. If you always say you don't have time in the morning, go to bed earlier by 20 minutes. If you always say you forget, set a reminder and place a physical cue where you can't miss it. If you always say you're too exhausted after work, do the habit before work or during lunch. If you always say you feel unmotivated, stop relying on feelings and commit to the 2-minute door. The excuse is predictable. Beat it to the punch. Arjun also made a decision that felt strange at first. He cleaned a small space in his home and claimed it as his discipline zone. Nothing fancy. Just a chair, a table, and a clear surface. No clutter, no distractions. He wasn't trying to be minimalist. He was trying to be serious. Every time he sat there, his brain received the same message. This is where I follow through. Places have power. They train you. A bed trains you to rest. A couch trains you to drift. A clear, intentional space trains you to act. And you need to guard your inputs. What you consume becomes your internal voice. If your day begins with panic headlines, heated arguments, and endless comparison, you are loading your mind with noise and expecting it to produce focus. That's not discipline. That's sabotage. Choose one input to limit for these 21 days, not forever, just for now. Your job is to create mental quiet so your decision can speak louder than your impulses. There's another real-world example that makes this unavoidable. Professional chefs don't cook in chaos. They prepare. Ingredients are measured, tools are placed, stations are clean. They don't depend on luck to make a great dish under pressure. They build a kitchen that makes excellence repeatable. You are building your kitchen. Your habit is your dish. Your environment is your station. Stop improvising like an amateur and start preparing like someone who expects to win. If this audiobook is bringing you value so far, take a moment to like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Leave a comment with your biggest takeaway and subscribe to Prime Audiobooks for more content like this. Now let's continue. Now that you've built the arena, you need one more thing, a rule for what happens when life hits you. Because life will hit you. A bad night of sleep, a family issue, a surprise deadline, a dip in energy. If your habit only works when conditions are perfect, it's not a habit, it's a hobby. So you create a fallback plan in advance, not during the crisis, but now while you're clear. Decide what success looks like on a hard day. The hard day version is not failure, it's a different gear. The 2-minute door is one version. Another version is reducing the habit by half but still doing it. If your walk is 20 minutes, the hard day is 10. If your writing is 15 minutes, the hard day is 7. You don't negotiate the identity, you adjust the volume. Arjun used this on day 8. He woke on time, but his body felt heavy and his mind was foggy. In the past, he would have used that as evidence that he couldn't keep promises. This time he used it as a signal to simplify. He followed the trigger, drank water, and did the smallest version of his routine. Then he stepped outside anyway. He didn't chase intensity. He chased consistency. By the time he returned, something had shifted. Not his mood, his self-respect. And self-respect is the fuel you're actually looking for. Motivation is a visitor. Self-respect is a resident. You build it by doing what you said you would do, especially when you don't feel like it. One more edit will make these 21 days sharper. Stop leaving decisions open. Open decisions drain you. When will I do it? How long should it be? Should I skip today? Decision fatigue will grind you down. Decide once, then execute. Choose the time. Choose the place. Choose the minimum standard. Write it down. When the moment arrives, you don't debate. You follow the script. Your script can be simple. When the alarm rings, you sit up. When your feet touch the floor, you drink water. When the water is done, you begin the habit. A chain, a rhythm, a flow. This is how you become a person who doesn't need hype to act. As this chapter closes, let the seriousness settle in your chest. You are not building a temporary streak. You are building a new default. You are shaping an environment that supports the person you're becoming. You are removing what doesn't belong, creating cues that pull you forward, and planning for hard days so the habit survives real life. What in your environment is quietly pulling you back into the old version of you? What one object, one app, one habit of distraction could you move, remove, or restrict so your decision has room to breathe? What would change if you stopped depending on willpower and started making the right action easier than the wrong one, every single day? Chapter 3. Win the inner room by now. You've stopped waiting for perfect timing and started collecting proof with one clear habit. You've also begun shaping the arena around you, removing friction and building a system that makes follow-through easier than excuses. But even with the right habit and the right environment, there will be a moment when the real battle shows up, quiet and personal, inside your own head. Most people lose their 21 days in the inner room. That's the private space where thoughts become decisions and decisions become actions. No one sees it. No one applauds it. And that's why it matters. If you can take control there, the rest becomes mechanical. There's a reason you can have a clean plan and still sabotage yourself. It's not because you lack ability. It's because your mind is running old programs designed to keep you safe, not strong. Safety sounds like comfort. Safety sounds like delay. Safety sounds like not today. Your brain is not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to conserve energy and avoid discomfort. And if you've taught it for years that discomfort equals danger, it will flare up the moment you move toward growth. So in these next days, you stop treating your thoughts like commands. You start treating them like suggestions. Some are useful, some are noise, and the most dangerous ones are the thoughts that pretend to be reasonable. A woman named Mira learned this during a season when her life looked stable on the outside but felt heavy on the inside. She wanted to change, but her mind had a polished script ready every morning. You can do it later. You're already behind, so what's the point? You'll never keep this up. These weren't screams. They were whispers. And whispers are harder to fight because they sound like your own voice. Mira didn't defeat that voice by trying to be positive. Positive thinking is not a strategy. She defeated it by becoming precise. She started writing down the exact sentence her mind used when she was about to quit. She saw the pattern. It was always the same, a thought that predicted failure and offered relief. Once she could see it, she could name it. And once she could name it, it lost authority. Here's the rule. You can't control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control what you agree with. Agreement is where power transfers. The moment you agree with a weakening thought, your body follows it. The moment you refuse agreement, your body can still move. So you build a simple skill in the inner room. It's called the pause and pivot. When a weakening thought shows up, you pause for 2 breaths, not to calm down, to interrupt the autopilot. Then you pivot to a command you've decided in advance. A command is short, direct, and action-based, not emotional, not dramatic, something like start the 2-minute door, or feet on floor, or begin the first sentence. You are not debating your mind, you are issuing direction. This is where people misunderstand discipline. They think discipline means feeling strong. Discipline means acting while feeling weak. It means moving with doubt in your chest and still doing the next right thing. The inner room is not a place for motivation speeches. It's a place for orders. Think of a firefighter entering a burning building. They don't negotiate with fear. Fear is expected. They follow training. They check their gear. They move step by step. In the same way, your discomfort is expected. Your doubts are expected. The point isn't to eliminate them. The point is to keep moving while they exist. To do that, you need to change one more thing, the story you tell yourself about who you are. Because identity is the engine under the habit. If you believe you are inconsistent, your brain will search for evidence to confirm it. If you believe you are unreliable, you will treat broken promises as normal. But if you start collecting proof of follow-through, you can update the story. This is not pretending. This is based on evidence. The marks you've been making, the days you've shown up, the moments you resisted comfort, those are not small. They are data. They say, I'm the kind of person who shows up. And that identity statement needs to become your default voice. Mira used a method that was almost embarrassingly simple. She chose one sentence and repeated it at the exact moment she was most likely to quit. Not in the mirror, not in some cinematic montage, but in the messy middle of real life. Her sentence was, I don't negotiate with the version of me that wants to stay the same. It wasn't magic. It was a reminder of the standard. You need your own sentence. Something you can say when the inner room gets loud. It should be true, direct, and tied to action. Something like, I keep my word, or I do the next step, or I show up even small. Then you pair that sentence with movement. Words without movement are fantasies. Words with movement become training. Now let's address the other trap that kills progress, emotional accounting. That's when you treat your feelings like a scoreboard. You feel good, so you act. You feel bad, so you stop. That makes your life unstable because feelings are unstable. The disciplined person does not ask, how do I feel, before acting. They ask, what is the standard? And then they act, letting feelings catch up later. There's a man named Daniel who trained himself out of emotional accounting by using a simple tool, a checklist. He was rebuilding his life after years of inconsistency. He didn't trust his mood, and he finally admitted that was the point. So he created a short morning checklist that contained his trigger and his habit. When the moment came, he didn't consult motivation. He consulted the checklist. It sounds almost too ordinary to matter, and that's why it works. Ordinary systems beat dramatic intentions. But even with a checklist, there will be days when the inner room tries a different weapon, shame. Shame says, you missed once, so you're back to being you. Shame tries to turn a moment into an identity. You already know the rule that breaks this. A miss is an event, not a verdict. Your job is not to punish yourself. Your job is to return. When you feel shame, shorten your focus. Don't stare at the whole 21 days. Don't stare at the rest of your life. Stare at the next 10 minutes. The future is built in small spaces. You can win the next 10 minutes. You can do the 2-minute door. You can put your feet on the floor. You can begin the first sentence. You can step outside. You can take one action that proves you are still in the fight. This is how momentum is really created, not by huge breakthroughs but by quick recoveries. The person who changes everything is not the person who never slips. It's the person who returns fast, without drama, without self-hatred, without delay. Mira had a day where everything fell apart. The family needed her, work pulled her in multiple directions, and by evening she realized she hadn't done her habit. The old her would have said, "I failed." The new her asked a different question. What is the smallest proof I can create tonight? She did the 2-minute door version right there, late in the day, not because it was ideal, but because it protected her identity. Then she prepared the cue for tomorrow. She refused to let one hard day steal the change she had been building. You need to understand how powerful that is. When you protect your identity on a hard day, you send a signal to your brain: this is no longer optional. This is no longer based on mood. This is who we are. Here's another tool for the inner room, and it's decisive. Speak to yourself the way a disciplined coach would. Not cruel, not soft, not pleading. Clear, specific, focused on behavior, not character. A disciplined coach doesn't say, "You're pathetic." A disciplined coach says, "Get up. Start the first rep." When you catch yourself spiraling, shift into coach voice. No debate, begin. One step. Return, then move. And when you do move, even for 2 minutes, something changes. You feel it. The fog lifts slightly. The inner noise quiets, not because life is suddenly perfect, but because you're back in command. You're no longer being dragged by impulse. You're steering again. If you want to change everything in 21 days, you must become the kind of person who can sit in discomfort without flinching. Not because you enjoy it, but because you respect your future more than you worship your comfort. Comfort is a reward you earn after you act, not a condition you wait for before you act. You are building a person who can be trusted, and trust is built in private, in the inner room, in the moment when no one would know if you quit, and you don't quit anyway. If this audiobook is bringing you value so far, take a moment to like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this, leave a comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to Prime Audiobooks for more content like this. Now, let's continue. As you step forward from this chapter, hold your attention on the invisible place where your life is decided. What sentence does your mind use when it tries to pull you back into the old version of you? What command will you use to interrupt it? And what small action will you attach to that command so you move before debate begins? When discomfort shows up tomorrow, will you treat it as a stop sign, or will you treat it as the price of becoming someone you respect? Chapter 4. The energy contract. You've made the decision and anchored it to one habit that proves you can be trusted. You've shaped the arena so the right action is easier than the wrong one, and you've started winning the inner room by treating thoughts as suggestions and moving on command. Now you face the next reality. Your plans don't collapse from a lack of knowledge, they collapse from a lack of usable energy. Energy is the currency of change. Not excitement, not talent, energy. And if you don't manage it, your 21 days will turn into a cycle of strong starts and quiet disappearances. Most people blame discipline when they're actually exhausted. They blame motivation when they're actually depleted. They blame life being busy when they're actually leaking energy in 100 small ways. So in this chapter, you build an energy contract with yourself. A contract means standards, not wishes. It means you stop living like you have infinite fuel and start living like a professional who protects the resource that makes everything possible. A man named Karim learned this when he tried to change his life by stacking habits. He wanted to wake early, train, eat better, work harder, and build a side project. The first week looked impressive from the outside. The second week felt like walking through wet cement. By the third week, he was angry at himself and he didn't understand why. He told himself he was weak. He told himself he lacked discipline. The truth was simpler. He never learned how to recover. He lived in a constant state of partial sleep, constant stimulation, constant rushing. His body wasn't refusing to change because it hated him. It was refusing because it was trying to survive. The contract starts with one blunt statement: you can't hate your body into greatness. You can push yourself, yes. You can demand more, yes. But you cannot run a new life on a broken battery. If you do, you will return to comfort not because you're flawed, but because your system is desperate. So your first move is to stop guessing why your energy is low. You identify the drains, not the dramatic ones. The ordinary ones that feel harmless until you add them up. Scrolling late at night. Caffeine that steals tomorrow's calm. Meals that spike and crash you. Conversations that leave you tense. A cluttered space that quietly agitates you. Unfinished tasks that follow you like shadows. These are leaks. They make discipline feel impossible because they keep you in a constant fight or flight state. Karim started with sleep not because it was glamorous but because it was foundational. He didn't aim for perfection. He aimed for a schedule he could repeat. He chose a bedtime that protected his wake time and he treated it like an appointment. He made one change that mattered, a shutdown ritual. 30 minutes before bed, screens off, lights lower, tomorrow's cues prepared. He wasn't trying to be a monk. He was trying to make his mornings winnable. This is the truth most people avoid. Your morning discipline is built the night before. You can't stay up late feeding distractions and expect to wake up powerful. That's not how the body works. That's not how the mind works. If you want to change everything in 21 days, you stop gambling with sleep. Now, if sleep is the foundation, food and movement are the supports. Not extreme diets, not punishment workouts. Support. Your goal is stable energy, not dramatic suffering. Karim didn't overhaul his entire diet. He made 2 practical rules for 21 days. He ate a protein-focused breakfast to reduce crashes, and he stopped eating heavy meals late at night. That alone changed his mornings. His mind felt clearer. His impulses softened. His ability to follow through increased without him forcing it. Then he added what he called a reset walk. Not for fitness, for regulation. 10 to 20 minutes, ideally in daylight after a stressful block of work or in the afternoon when energy dips. That walk wasn't about burning calories. It was about telling his nervous system, we are safe, we are steady, we can continue. People underestimate how much of discipline is nervous system management. A regulated nervous system doesn't panic at effort. It can stay present. Now let's talk about the most ignored energy rule. Attention is energy. Every time you switch tasks, every time you check a notification, every time you let your mind fragment, you spend energy. You don't feel it as fatigue right away. You feel it later as resistance, procrastination, and the urge to escape. This is why the arena mattered in the previous chapter, but now you take it further. You create blocks of focus that protect your attention like it's money. Karim chose one focus block each day. Just one. A protected window where notifications were off and the only goal was one meaningful task, not 5. 1. He stopped trying to prove productivity by being busy. He started proving it by finishing. That shift alone reduced stress. Stress is one of the biggest energy thieves. It keeps your body tense and your mind scattered. Completion returns energy. Unfinished tasks drain it. There's a metaphor that will make this clear. Imagine you're carrying a backpack. Each unfinished task is a stone. At first, one stone feels fine. Then you add another and you get used to the weight. You think it's normal. Then you try to build a new habit and suddenly the weight feels unbearable. You tell yourself you're weak, but you're just overloaded. The solution is not self-hatred. The solution is to remove stones. Finish small things, close loops. Simplify commitments. Protect your focus. Now your energy contract includes one more requirement: boundaries. You do not get to change your life while saying yes to everything that steals your time and drains your nervous system. Boundaries are not rude. They're adult. They are the walls that protect the arena you built. Karim practiced a sentence that felt uncomfortable at first because it was new. I can't commit to that right now. That's it. No long explanation. No apology tour. He used it when people tried to pull him into unnecessary meetings, late-night calls, and emotional chaos. At first he felt guilty. Then he felt relief. And relief is energy returning. This doesn't mean you become cold, it means you become deliberate. When you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. In these 21 days, you need to see that trade clearly. You are not a machine. You are a human being rebuilding a life. Your energy is limited. Spend it like someone who respects the future. Now, there will still be days when your energy drops. That's normal. The contract isn't about never being tired. It's about knowing what to do when you are. Remember the 2-minute door. Remember the hard day version. You don't quit because you're tired. You adjust the volume, you protect the identity. Karim had a day where he woke up feeling drained and irritated. He wanted to skip everything. He remembered something crucial. Tiredness is not a moral failure. It's information. So he used tiredness as a signal to simplify. He did the smallest version of his key habit. He took a short walk later, he ate simply, and he went to bed on time. That day wasn't flashy, but it preserved the chain. And the next day, his energy returned. Most people ruin the next day by punishing themselves on the tired day. Now let's make this contract practical and immediate. Today, you choose one energy protector and one energy leak to remove. The protector could be a consistent bedtime, a shutdown ritual, a protein-focused breakfast, a reset walk, or a daily focus block with notifications off. The leak could be late-night scrolling, random social feeds in the morning, caffeine too late in the day, chaotic multitasking, or saying yes to things you resent. Choose one of each. Protect and remove. That's how you change your baseline, because your baseline is what decides your future. When your baseline energy is higher, your habits don't require heroics. When your baseline energy is low, everything feels like a fight. Raise the baseline and discipline becomes simpler. You are not here to become a person who can grind forever. You are here to become a person who can endure, recover, and repeat. That's how real transformation happens, not in bursts but in sustainable cycles. The strongest people are not those who never rest. They are the ones who recover on purpose. And there's a deeper lesson hidden in this. When you treat your energy like something sacred, you stop living like your life is disposable. You stop burning your nights and borrowing from tomorrow. You stop consuming noise and expecting clarity. You stop surviving and start building. If this audiobook is bringing you value so far, take a moment to like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this, leave a comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to Prime Audiobooks for more content like this. Now, let's continue. As you move into your next days, let the contract become real in the details. Where is your energy leaking in a way you've been calling normal? What would change if you protected your sleep like a commitment instead of a leftover? If your attention is energy, what would happen if you stopped spending it on things that give nothing back? And when you feel tired, will you treat that as a reason to quit, or will you treat it as information that helps you simplify, recover, and keep your word? Chapter 5. The proof becomes your life. You've already stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started proving your word is real through one clear habit. You built an arena that supports action instead of excuses, and you learned to win the inner room by moving on command instead of negotiating with doubt. You also made an energy contract so your progress isn't powered by burnout, but by a baseline you can sustain. Now something new happens if you've stayed in the work. The habit begins to feel less like an effort and more like a fact, and that is both a victory and a danger. Because the moment your new behavior starts to feel normal, your mind will try to downgrade it. It will say, "See, it's not that serious." It will tempt you to loosen the standard, not with rebellion, but with comfort. This is how people sabotage themselves right before a breakthrough. They confuse familiarity with completion. They confuse a streak with a transformation. So Chapter 5 is about locking in the change. Not by clinging to intensity, but by building a new identity that holds under pressure in public and in real life. Pressure is the real test, not your best day, not the quiet morning when everything is smooth. Pressure is the meeting that runs long, the argument at home, the unexpected travel, the fatigue, the disappointment, the boredom, the day when the inner room gets loud and the world gets demanding. If your habit survives pressure, it becomes yours. If it collapses under pressure, it was still borrowed. A woman named Sana found this out during a promotion cycle at work. She had been consistent for nearly 2 weeks. The habit was beginning to feel like her new normal. Then the pressure hit. Late nights, early calls, people needing her. She told herself, "This is a special week. I'll pause and return after it's over." That sounded reasonable. It was also the beginning of the old life returning through a side door. What saved her wasn't willpower. It was a rule she wrote when she was calm. Pressure does not cancel the standard. Pressure reveals the standard. She realized that if she only lived her habits when life was easy, she wasn't building discipline. She was just enjoying good conditions. So she shifted her strategy. She stopped trying to do her habit perfectly and started trying to do it unbreakably. On heavy days, she used the hard day version without guilt. On chaotic days, she used the 2-minute door. She protected the identity no matter what. And that identity protection did something profound. It made her feel stable. When everything around her was shifting, she still had one place where her word stayed firm. This is what you're building now, a stable core. To get there, you need to understand the difference between intensity and continuity. Intensity is loud. It feels powerful. It makes you proud. Continuity is quiet. It makes you reliable. Most people chase intensity because it's exciting. But the person who changes everything chooses continuity because it compounds. Compounding is not a motivational concept. It's a law. 1 day of showing up is a moment. 10 days is evidence. 21 days is an identity forming. An identity is what stays when motivation leaves. Here, that's how you strengthen identity in a way your brain cannot deny. You start living by a short set of non-negotiables and you keep them small, not a long list, not a complicated lifestyle. 1 or 2 behaviors that you can carry into any day, any season, any mood. Your keystone habit is one. Your energy protector might be another. These become your anchors. They are the behaviors you do even when everything else is messy. Sana chose 2 anchors, her keystone habit and a shut-down ritual that protected sleep. She didn't add more. She removed the illusion that she needed more. She built depth instead of breadth. Now you take the next step. You stop measuring your progress by feelings and start measuring it by friction. If the habit is getting easier to start, you're winning. If the excuses are getting quieter, you're winning. If you recover faster after a miss, you're winning. If your environment is starting to match your standards, you're winning. These are the real indicators of transformation. This is also where the people around you matter more than you want to admit. Your environment isn't only physical, it's social. It's the conversations you allow, the expectations you accept, the energy you absorb. If you spend time with people who normalize distraction, who mock discipline, who treat growth like a phase, you will feel an invisible drag on your progress. Not because they're evil, because humans synchronize. You become the temperature of the room you keep standing in. This doesn't mean you cut everyone off. It means you become intentional. You protect your arena socially the way you protected it physically. You decide which conversations you will not entertain. You decide which invitations you will decline. You decide which people you will keep close during this 21-day rebuild. Sana didn't announce her habit to everyone. She didn't ask for permission. She quietly changed how she moved. She stopped complaining about being tired and started going to bed earlier. She stopped joining late-night group chats that spiraled into noise. She wasn't rude. She was unavailable for what would cost her the future. And something interesting happened. The people who respected her grew closer. The people who needed her to stay the same started to fade. That's part of change. When you grow, the old life will try to pull you back, sometimes through other people's comfort with your old version. You also need a way to protect your momentum when you're alone, because the strongest sabotage often happens in private when there's no social pressure and no external structure. This is where a simple daily review becomes a weapon. Not a long journal, not a dramatic reflection. A short check-in 1 minute at the end of the day. You ask yourself quietly and honestly, did I keep my word today? If yes, you acknowledge it, not with arrogance, with respect. If no, you don't spiral, you choose your recovery plan, you set up tomorrow's cues, you remove one obstacle, then you sleep. This is how adults change, not by emotional storms, but by clean adjustments. And now, there's something else you must prepare for: success. When you start doing better, you will feel the urge to reward yourself with the very habits you're trying to escape. People celebrate progress by returning to old patterns. They treat consistency like a reason to loosen standards. That's not celebration. That's sabotage dressed up as self-care. Real celebration is strengthening what works. If you want to reward yourself with something that supports the identity you're building. A cleaner space, a better meal, a walk in the morning sunlight. A quiet hour of focused work on something that matters. A purchase that removes friction for your habit. A reward that reinforces the standard instead of erasing it. Sana created a reward that was simple and powerful. On the day she hit 2 full weeks, she took an hour to design her next week deliberately. She chose her focus block, her shutdown ritual, and her habit trigger. She didn't wait for the week to happen to her. She built it. That was her celebration, control. Now, as you approach the later days of this 21-day change, you need to face a final truth about transformation. You are not trying to become a person who needs constant structure forever. You are becoming a person who can carry a standard anywhere. The structure is training wheels. The identity is the bike. At some point, you will have days where your schedule shifts, your environment changes, your responsibilities grow. The habit must survive that. So you practice portability. You practice doing your habit in a slightly different setting. You practice doing it at a slightly different time. Not because you want to be inconsistent, but because you want to be resilient. You are training yourself to keep your word under variation, not only under perfect routines. Sana practiced this during a weekend trip. Her morning looked different. The space was unfamiliar. The timing was off. She didn't panic. She used her script. She used the 2-minute door. She did the smallest version, protected the identity, and moved on. That one choice taught her something that mattered more than comfort. I can take myself anywhere and still be who I am. That's the moment change becomes real. If this audiobook is bringing you value so far, take a moment to like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Leave a comment with your biggest takeaway and subscribe to Prime Audiobooks for more content like this. Now, let's continue. Now let the weight of what you've built settle into you. You are not just stacking days. You are building a standard that survives pressure, boredom, success, and chaos. You are becoming someone who protects their energy, their attention, and their word. And that person doesn't need hype. That person needs only one thing, the next step. As you move forward from here, consider what kind of person your habit is proving you are becoming. When pressure hits, will you treat it as a reason to pause, or as the moment to protect the identity even more fiercely? Who in your life supports the person you're becoming, and who quietly benefits when you stay the same? And if you truly believed that your word is the foundation of everything you want, what would you do tomorrow to make that foundation undeniable? Chapter 6. The next 21 days are yours. You've proven your decision with a habit that leaves marks you can't deny. You built an arena that removes friction. You learned to command the inner room instead of negotiating with doubt. And you protected your progress with an energy contract that raises your baseline instead of draining it. Under pressure, you shifted from intensity to continuity, and you began living from anchors that make your standard portable. Now you arrive at the point where most people quietly stop, not because they failed, but because they succeeded enough to relax. They hit a milestone and confuse it with a finish line. But 21 days was never the finish line. It was the doorway. The door is open. And what you do next decides whether this becomes a chapter in your life or the turning point of your life. There's a moment in every real transformation where the person realizes something that changes everything. The old life doesn't end with one dramatic decision. It ends with 1,000 small refusals to return. The old patterns don't vanish. They wait. They look for fatigue. They look for celebration. They look for stress. They look for boredom. They look for the moment you say, "I've done enough." This last chapter is about building permanence, not perfection, permanence. It's about making sure the version of you you've been practicing is the version that stays when life gets loud again. It's about turning a 21-day experiment into a way of living. Arjun, the man who began by waking up on time and saying, "I do what I said I would do," reached day 21 without fireworks. That surprised him. He thought he would feel a huge wave of emotion like a movie ending. Instead, he felt calm, not excited, calm. And that calm was the proof. It meant his nervous system had stopped treating discipline like danger. It meant the habit had moved from effort to identity. But here's the part that mattered most. On day 22, no one handed him a trophy. The calendar didn't clap. His phone didn't congratulate him. Life continued. And he realized that the only reward that lasts is the person you become. So he made one more decision, and this decision is the one you're here to make too. He decided that he was no longer someone who tries. He was someone who trains. Trying is casual. Training is committed. Trying is based on mood. Training is based on standards. Trying depends on outcomes. Training depends on repetition. When you shift into training, you stop asking, "Did I do it today?" and start asking, "What am I practicing becoming?" That changes how you see setbacks. It changes how you see fatigue. It changes how you see pressure. It turns your life into a deliberate craft. Mira, who learned to pause and pivot in the inner room, discovered the same truth in a different way. She didn't become a person who never had negative thoughts. She became a person who didn't obey them. That difference is everything. In the past, her thoughts drove her. Now her standards did. She didn't need to be fearless. She needed to be decisive. Karim, who built the energy contract, learned that rest is not a weakness, it's a strategy. He learned that recovery is not what you do after you fail. It's what you do so you don't fail. He learned to protect sleep, reduce energy leaks, and build focus blocks that returned his attention to him. Sana, who trained under pressure, learned to build anchors and carry her standard into any environment. She learned that portability is power and that identity survives when you protect it on hard days, not only on easy ones. These are not separate lessons. They're one system. Decision, arena, inner room, energy, identity under pressure. The system works because it addresses the whole person. And now the final step is to make it yours beyond these 21 days. Here's how you do that. You create a simple continuation plan that doesn't depend on motivation. You do not overhaul everything. You do not chase complexity. You do not set a mountain of goals that makes you feel impressive for a moment and overwhelmed for a month. You choose 3 things: one anchor, one protector, and one growth edge. Your anchor is the keystone habit you've been building, the habit that makes you respect yourself, the habit that started the chain reaction. You keep it. You protect it. You treat it as non-negotiable. Your protector is the practice that keeps your energy stable. It could be your shutdown ritual. It could be your focus block. It could be your reset walk. It's the thing that quietly prevents collapse. Your growth edge is one new behavior you add only after the anchor is stable, not before, after. The growth edge is small, specific, and measurable. It's not a fantasy. It's a next step that fits into your life. For some people, the growth edge is reading 10 minutes a day. For others, it's planning tomorrow in 1 minute at night. For others, it's reducing a major distraction. Whatever it is, you choose one, not 10, because you are building a life, not performing change. This is how change becomes permanent. You expand slowly without breaking the base. Now listen carefully. The next season of your life will tempt you with 2 lies. The first lie is that you can relax your standard because you've improved. The second lie is that if you slip, you've lost everything. Both are traps. If you relax your standard too much, you return to old patterns through comfort. If you treat a slip like a catastrophe, you return to old patterns through shame. The answer to both lies is the same. Return to the standard quickly without drama. Your life will have misses. You are human. The goal is not to be flawless. The goal is to be the kind of person who returns immediately. The person who returns immediately is unstoppable because they don't give setbacks time to grow roots. So you keep the rule you already know: never miss twice. You treat it like a law, not a suggestion, a law. If you miss once, your next move is recovery, not self-punishment. You set up tomorrow's cues, you remove friction, you simplify, you begin again. There is a metaphor that can hold you steady when your mind tries to exaggerate. Imagine you're building a wall one brick at a time. A missed day is a brick you didn't place. It is not the wall collapsing. The wall collapses when you decide that one missed brick means there's no point placing any more. That decision is the real failure. So you place the next brick. You place it cleanly. You place it with a steady hand. You keep building. Another truth you must accept if you want to keep what you've built is this: you will outgrow some parts of your old life. That's not arrogance, it's growth. Your time will feel more valuable. Your attention will feel more guarded. Your tolerance for chaos will shrink. Some people will not understand. Some people will tease. Some people will push. That is not your problem. Your job is to protect the person you're becoming. Protecting that person means you keep shaping your arena as life changes. You keep your triggers stable. You keep your environment supportive. You keep your attention defended. You keep your energy protected. This is not a one-time setup. It's maintenance. And maintenance is what separates temporary change from a new life. Now I want you to picture the version of you at the start of these 21 days. The version who knew what needed to change but kept negotiating. The version who relied on bursts of motivation and then disappeared when the excitement faded. The version who started strong and then wondered why it never lasted. That version of you is not your enemy. That version is your past. And your past doesn't get to vote anymore. Your future gets the vote now. Your future is made of ordinary days. And ordinary days are where disciplined people win. They win in the first hour. They win by removing friction. They win by protecting sleep. They win by moving on command. They win by doing the hard day version instead of quitting. They win by closing loops. They win by returning quickly. They win by being consistent enough that their identity becomes undeniable. And here is the final truth that ties every chapter together. Changing everything in 21 days is not about changing everything you do. It's about changing who is in charge. For years, comfort was in charge. Impulse was in charge. Other people's demands were in charge. Noise was in charge. Now you are in charge. And the proof is not in your feelings. The proof is in your action. So take this seriously, not with fear, with commitment. The world is full of people who want change without cost. You are becoming the person who pays the cost and keeps the reward. If you want a single image to carry with you, let it be this: you are the sculptor. Your life is the stone. Your habits are the chisel. Every day you pick up the chisel, even for 2 minutes, you remove what doesn't belong. Over time, the shape becomes unmistakable. One day you look up and realize you didn't just create a routine. You created a person. If this audiobook is bringing you value so far, take a moment to like it. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. leave a comment with your biggest takeaway, and subscribe to Prime Audiobooks for more content like this. Now let's continue. Now the call is clear. Don't stop at day 21. Take what you've built and extend it. Keep the anchor, protect the energy. Add one growth edge when the base is stable. Keep your arena clean. Keep your inner room under command. Return quickly when you slip. Train, don't try. Make your word matter. And as you step into the days ahead, let the questions you carry be the ones that shape you. What standard are you willing to live by even when no one is watching? What part of your environment needs to change so your future is easier to choose than your past? When your mind offers you the familiar excuse, what command will you use? And what action will you take before debate begins? If you truly believed your life is built one ordinary day at a time, what will you practice tomorrow so the next 21 days prove again that you are the kind of person who keeps your word?